Well, good morning, everyone. This is Keith with Positively Osceola. Happy Friday. And if you're a teacher or a student, you're likely rejoicing as the winter break is upon you. And we will wish the best for you. But first, we have the honor of speaking to Kristen Arrington, who is the state representative in District 46 on our Daybreak Live show. We're going to get right at it because we got lots to talk about. So here we go. And good morning, Kristen. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great, Keith. Thanks for asking. How about yourself?
You got it. I bet we're doing great. So I'm assuming you have had coffee nearby. If you don't have one right now, you probably have had one this morning or something similar.
I've had one. I could probably use a few more, though.
Well, you are certainly could be accused of burning the candle on both ends at some point with all you do. So I'm going to get right at it. First of all, welcome to our show. And I know you've been a part of this before, and we've had certainly with the election cycle behind us, pretty much, it seems. We could talk about what's going on, and what's going on is you guys just got back from a special session up in Tallahassee, and most people are aware of it, I think, but certainly probably not everybody. So I'm just going to kind of back off, and if you would kind of let us know, what was discussed, what was done at the special session, and maybe some of the aspirations you have for the soon coming regular session. But I'll get out of the way and again, welcome you and ask you just kind of share what you want to share with us this morning, please.
Absolutely. And thanks for the opportunity. That question should keep me busy for sure. But Floridians, we did have a special session this week. Today is Friday, but special session started on Monday. And for the House, it ended yesterday, or I should say Wednesday afternoon. Sorry, all the days are running a little bit together. But we voted on and heard legislation for property insurance reform, for disaster relief, and also a toll reduction program for the toll roads that you drive on. So the property insurance is obviously the big one that probably everybody has seen on the news and heard about. We also had a special session back in May for property insurance, and we passed legislation with some little changes. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to see the benefits of those changes yet. Also in that legislation, we required the insurance commissioner to provide data and reports on some stuff, which we have not had yet as well. So that, I will say, was definitely disappointing, getting ready for another special session on property insurance that, we aren't looking at what we just did a few months ago and how that is benefiting our system. So the property insurance bill, we actually had it posted for everyone on Friday night, I think probably about 6 p.m. for session to begin on Monday. And it was a 125-page bill. So a lot of folks that were in the industry or legislators, we spent the weekend reading that and asking our questions and trying to do as much research as possible. I made the joke to Keith earlier that it was we showed up with a pie already made. We couldn't make any changes to the crust or the filling. We just pretty much had to eat the pie that was prepared for us. So there was not any wiggle room or negotiations on the property insurance bill, which was definitely disappointing. My Democrat colleagues and myself, we are the supermajority right now in the House. There's 35 of us and 85 of Republicans. So our Democratic caucus put our heads together before the legislation even dropped and brought forth all the ideas that our constituents had given us. Many folks that maybe know me had participated in my property insurance survey, which was 350 people participating with their stories. So we took that information along with my colleagues and we put together what we would love to see for legislation for Floridians. So everybody can go to myfloridahouse.gov and you can see the bill that was proposed and we voted on by the majority party, but you can also see the bill that we proposed that brought forth the ideas and the issues that Floridians told us. That bill, unfortunately, was not heard because it was ruled out of order, an expansion of scope for what was called for special session. So unfortunately, we did not hear that publicly. But I will say in positive news, the majority party did say we brought up some great ideas during debate that they would love to bring forward during session. So I think that there could be some changes, but I've talked a lot without actually telling what was actually in the property insurance bill, the 125 pages that we're talking about. The positives are we are looking to stop some of the scams and some of the folks that are being taken advantage of with assignment of benefits, which there probably is more technical term that I'm not using, but that's very similar when we hear these horrible stories where a grandmother has a roofer come to the door and they get them to sign over the benefits for them. So they're able to act with the insurance company and collect those funds. So we would have folks like roofers, water remediation, and different vendors that were able to take advantage of folks. So that will not happen anymore. I think that's probably the best part of the bill, and something that I wish we could have talked about more because it was positive. But unfortunately, the legislation was more pushed to stabilize the market, is what we were told with the sponsor, to make sure that, you know, companies are able to stay in Florida so they don't take the benefits that they receive here in Florida and then close shop and then go to another state and then, you know, can profit there. So that was more of the intention. What we wanted on our side of the aisle is we wanted rates to go down for Floridians, or freezes in rates, or folks not to be forced on Citizens Insurance. So unfortunately, there are no rate freezes or rate reductions. And also for Citizens, we are making stuff harder for folks. If you're on Citizens Insurance now, you will be required to have flood insurance. But private industry does not have to do that. So that's going to be more of cost for folks. I'm going to be getting flood insurance, and that's, you know, about $500 more a year. So that's going to be a cost that increases to folks too. So I do, you know, recommend, if you do want to find out more about the bill, go to myfloridahouse.gov and you can read some of the breakdown, some of the interpretations, so to speak. So you don't have to read all 123 pages, but really reach out to your representatives, your folks, let them know what's important to you, because this is definitely not solved, and we will be bringing it up more in session. So that's a property insurance bill. And sorry, Keith, I'm talking forever, but we also voted on 2 more bills, which were voted on unanimously. So that's great news when you know, there's bipartisan support in the House and Senate. And one of those was legislation to assist with disaster relief and monies for local governments, and also refunds for homeowners that are in zones that are affected when we have these horrible natural disasters. Additionally, we did the toll reduction program, and I'm going to look at my notes for that, but I think it's for folks that do 35 more or trips a month, that they will receive about a 50% cost reduction in their toll rates, which will be great for our workers trying to get across the state. The negative is that, of course, we're going to have those reduction in funds that come in, which could, you know, hurt people's bond ratings. But the state will be supplementing those funds with $500 million. I would say I would love if we could just have $500 million invested in infrastructure, anyways, for roads, especially here in Osceola County. But this is going to be a benefit to constituents and to everyday Floridians. So I do think this will be a positive measure across the board.
Is a part of the idea that possibly, or was it mentioned at all, that with that reduction, they think there'll be an increase of use overall? So those people who are avoiding toll roads because they're using them so much, maybe they'll start using them there. So there might not be a complete depletion of those funds coming in as far as the income stream to the roads. Is that something that was discussed at all?
Absolutely. And also the discussion that, of course, that'll free up, you know, our roads a little bit that aren't toll roads. So those folks sitting in traffic will be better. I will say the one, if I'm playing politics on it, is that my party is a little concerned that the governor will use this as an advertising opportunity for himself. With upcoming elections. So we did try to propose amendments that we can't advertise the governor with those toll reductions. But yes, we hope that will have more ridership, and people will also see the value in it and bring in more funds. But then also maybe after this program has stopped, or they decide to continue it, we'll get more people participating.
Yeah, I had actually not, to be honest, I hadn't thought that it would pull people off of those non-toll roads, but that would make sense. Hopefully that does happen, as we all love those particular congested moments for sure. I'll stop talking, let you continue, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So the property insurance bill, as I said, that's the one that everybody should look a little bit more out. You can read the newspaper articles that will give, you know, kind of a recap or some of those line items. But really, I really am concerned for folks that are on Citizens Insurance now. So if you really should look at these changes and be ready for changes in your policy. There's also now new legislation that if you can find private insurance that is only 20% increase of what your Citizens is, you'll be required to go onto private insurance as well. So there is, and then if you get off of Citizens insurance and if you're off of it for 36 months, you cannot come back to it. So if people that are watching have Citizens insurance, and you definitely need to look at these changes because they will be affecting you very quickly. So that is the most concerning. And please, as I said, reach out to folks with your issues with these changes so we can make sure moving forward that we can make some changes. One thing that did come up that I thought was horrible but very interesting, and I'm glad that it was brought to light, is I was in the Commerce Committee that saw the insurance bill in its first stop, so to speak. So that was the first time that questions were asked publicly on it. We had, public testimony where people drove from all over the state to tell their stories. But what was really interesting is these adjusters will a lot of times get hired when there's, disaster in an area like, like Kissimmee with flooding. We don't have maybe enough insurance adjusters here to go out and do appraisals of the damage. So they come in from, all over the state to do so. Well, they submit their appraisals, what it's called, of what, the cost of making that person or their property whole again, so to speak. And so they provide that to the insurance company, letting them know, what they think the cost will be, pictures of the damages, maybe some opinions on, how the damages occurred. But unfortunately, what's been happening, and I would say 5+ folks that came and told that this had happened to them, is that the insurance companies are making adjustments to these appraisals. So say someone comes in and says, Keith, you had $50,000 worth of damage to your home, and they submit it to the insurance company. The insurance companies, and obviously there's some bad actors, I'm not going to say, specifically what insurance companies are changing what that appraisal says the damage is. So they can say instead, no, Keith, we actually think, it's $20,000. So they change that number. They can cross off some written notes saying, how the water intrusion was damaged. They can modify this report and there's no repercussions to them. And then the poor adjuster who made this report, their name is attached to this. So this is their, their word, their legacy, their job, so to speak. And we have other people manipulating it on the other side. So I will say, with that being brought up, there was conversations that obviously we can't have that happening. And so I think there will be some further discussions that could maybe, remove that fraud. And that's another problem with this legislation, is that folks, if you're denied and you have those reports, with the pictures saying why you're denied or what those comments are, you don't have a right to see that information. You are not required to see that information. If you went to court and your attorney gets permission in the discovery, then you can see that information. So there's definitely a lot of transparency issues. And unfortunately, we could probably spend all day talking about it, Keith, and we might put a few people asleep along the way. But it is a very, very, very complex bill, and there are a lot of components to it that are going to affect people in different ways.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is from a number of people that have filed claims is it's coming back, even if it's approved, it's coming back with the keyword depreciation inside that. So they're knocking down dollars, just arbitrarily attaching a depreciation to certain areas. The strange part of that happening is that we know certain things have not depreciated in cost. They've appreciated in cost. You want to call it that? Is we're still dealing with some inflation. So wood, as an example, is still higher to buy now than it was prior to the last 5 years or so, or longer. So we both spoke about this before we went live this morning, that the hopes of your average Floridian is that rates would become somewhat sane. The hopes of your average insurance company is not that. Of course, we want, and I understand the state's perspective. We want to certainly not lose all of our insurance companies that want to be in Florida. They have the right to leave at some point, and then everybody would be on Citizens. So I obviously it appears that was the primary goal of the special session, to make sure we don't lose any more insurance companies, that people are not all going to be on Citizens, because that would be a debacle for the state financially. But it doesn't help, like you said, primarily when you flip on the TV, you want to hear something like, wow, they came to the great solutions were were part of what the special session was. And it, in the next year, we can expect to see some rate decreases by more insurance companies being here. That's not quite what you see. I mentioned also that I was speaking to an insurance agent or broker, and it was from that perspective, it was a good special session. But I really do agree with you. I mean, there are so many pieces to this, right? I mean, unfortunately, we had 2 named storms that recently hit, while rates were already somewhat doubled for many of us over the last year. So all those things hit at the same time. The assignments of benefits issue, certainly that's been going on for a number of years. And I've had some people ask me, well, geez, I've got a mortgage. So I did receive a payment a check from the insurance company, and it included that mortgage hold. Well, of course it's going to have, if Wells Fargo is your mortgage, it's going to be on that check, but that is not the same as Jimmy's gutter company getting
Right.
a $35,000 check in his hand and off he goes. So, my hat's off to you. I don't know how, is this going to be a dominating piece of the regular session as well? Because obviously it's not fully solved, right?
I would assume so by the discussions that we had, and then also all the things that came up along the way. And like I said, I am positive because the speaker, and for those that are watching at home, the speaker is kind of the boss in the House, and we have a Senate president, and so they work with the governor on this legislation. And our speaker was very positive in his talk about that this is not the end of this issue, and said that the minority party brought up some great points, including rates and rate reduction and relief for Floridians. So I am positive that this is not the end of it, so to speak. And I do have to say the bill sponsor, one of them, Chair Rommel, he sponsors something every year for property insurance, or he is continuously working on this. So he is aware of the problems and the issues. So I am hopeful from his discussions as well that we will be continuing to work at this. And also, since our special session ended, we did have the insurance commissioner resign, who was kind of called out a lot during things because he hasn't replied the reports or the oversight in our committee. He wasn't there to testify or answer questions. I think at the last minute he got in, hey, here I am. My office is over there. If y'all have any questions, come see me. And the thought was, well, he's going to be retiring pretty soon and have a great job somewhere working for the insurance industry because he just delivered to him. So, some folks, depending on what side you're on, will say maybe he resigned because he wasn't looking so good. And some folks will say that he resigned because now he has better opportunities for him. But what we were told by the bill sponsor is that this legislation was to stabilize the market. And that was the intent of this legislation. So they did straight up say that the intent was not to, get our rate increases down. So I am hopeful that we will work on that right away. And I will say our side of the aisle and Floridians are pushing for that. And we proposed amendments that would do so. We kept bringing it up continuously. So we will not stop fighting and saying it. So I'm hopeful that they will look at that this session.
Great. So pushing towards the regular session, do you want to share anything that you're going to be pointing towards as that takes place in 2023?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have all new committees, so I'm going to be learning a lot, which is going to be a lot of fun. And also, I have been appointed, as of yesterday, Democrat ranking member on 2 of the committees, which means kind of I take the lead when we have opposition, or at least trying to make sure, we have our proper representation. If people are coming there to testify for committee, that, we make sure that they're getting their time. The chairmen that I'm working with on both committees are both great. So it's going to definitely be enjoyable. One of them is the Civil Justice Subcommittee, and then the other one is the Ethics and Elections Subcommittee. And as you know, Keith, I love campaigns and elections, so that one's going to be quite enjoyable for me. And being appointed as deputy whip, I have kind of new members that are assigned to me that I'm going to work with on legislation. And just as a team, since the Democratic caucus is small but mighty, as I said, we really are just going to try to work really well together and strategize and make sure that we're not duplicating points, and that we are being most effective with the time that we are allotted, being the minority party, that we can be effective for Floridians. And, we usually most of the legislation we all agree on, but the ones that we don't, usually our party is kind of fighting for the little man or the one that doesn't have, big money or lobbyists behind them. So really going to be a great team player and try to work with my other colleagues to make sure that we are effective. But legislation always that's important is post-secondary education for our students and for adults to be able to have opportunities like Valencia and OTAC and make sure that they take advantage of those. Affordable housing opportunities for hotel motel conversions for our corridor and bringing money for that. And of course, the hydrilla issue in Lake Toho and how that is always a problem we don't have funding for. And, maybe one of the positives with this recent flooding, and we can see how hydrilla affected our lake levels and didn't assist us during this time. So I'm hopeful that there's some money for some water projects. I know Congressman Soto is bringing home some federal dollars, but the state really hasn't bought in there, and we really need them to do so. So those will be on my mind at all times, and just being ready for potential other special sessions in the meantime. We've heard rumors of maybe 2 more before special session. So basically, I'm just going to be ready to go at all times.
It's nice that you have that part-time job that you can once a year attend Tallahassee.
Absolutely. And I will say that's one of the things that's great about, us on both sides of the aisle is there is always that common respect and courtesy for each other, because we all know how much time and effort, that we donate, we give to our job, I say, and, leave our family and, leave our real jobs back home, that, we all do have respect for each other in that regard.
Awesome. Well, like you said, we could speak a couple hours right now and certainly not covered all. Just if you just talked about, Tahopagalaga drawdown and hydrilla and all those particular situations, those are certainly big topics. That's the thing, right? I mean, statewide, our extraordinarily important issues are not everybody else's extraordinarily important issues. Hence why you come together and discuss all these things. And I know it's not all simple to get to a solution, but that is why we have a representative style government. And that is why, you're out there, working for the constituents and for the local region. So we do appreciate what you're doing. Obviously, you're being recognized for doing a great job up there. And for me personally, I thank you because you're a really strong communicator and always willing to talk to us. So I appreciate that very much.
Well, thank you, Keith. I always appreciate the opportunity to make it really nice and easy, so I am able to communicate with folks more. And, it's definitely hard. We're all very busy in our everyday life. So I appreciate everybody tuning in and trying to stay in the loop, because I know things move fastly. And I appreciate you for always putting the information out there for everyone. Got it.
We're glad to do it. As I had mentioned, we're going to be surging on our how frequent our shows are going to be. And after the first of the year, we'll share all that later. But I hope that you'll come back prior to the next special session or even the regular session. But I hope you'll come back after the first of the year, and we can maybe do a regularly scheduled update for the community.
Wonderful. We start committee weeks January 2nd, and I think I have 3 for January and 3 for February, and then we start session mid-March. So I would love to provide as many updates as you will allow me to. So I look forward to working with you on that.
Wonderful. All right. Sounds like we're in agreement. There you have it, folks. Going to be talking often. So I wish you and your family a wonderful holiday season for sure, and be safe and be with your family and friends as often as you can. All right.
Thank you, Keith. You too. I'm sure I will see you soon someplace. Have a great weekend too.
Absolutely. Again, we really do appreciate you very much. Again, it's Keith with Positively Osceola here on one of our Daybreak live shows with the one and only Kristen Arrington, State Representative from District 46, together making a positive difference in and around Osceola County. Happy holidays.